Hi, welcome to Tink and Frog Knits. I'm Nat and today I want to talk about the 7 mistakes that I made whilst knitting my first colourwork jumper. This is the Lumme Pullover, which is a pattern by Sorry Nordland, and it's stunning, if I do say so myself. It's a circular yoke construction. There are German short rows just below the colourwork to lift the neck. There's German short rows at the bottom just to kind of lower the back. It's a double folded collar. It's got colourwork on the sleeves. The pattern is knitted at a worsted weight gauge and the recommended yarn is Cascade 220. I went with Cascade 220 in Japanese maple and antique lilac. And I think this is a beautiful combo. It's beautiful for autumn. This was actually my birthday cast on. I think birthdays are pretty boring when you're a grown up. So I've decided that every year I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to celebrate going around the sun once more and cast on a birthday sweater. This is my inaugural one. I hope you enjoy watching my vlog of knitting this and the process and everything that comes up and how I fix all my problems and yeah, get this very beautiful garment. It's my birthday! Here are my loom boobies. Let's cast on. It's loom time and this will be my first colourwork jumper, which is very exciting because I learnt to knit so that I could do colourwork and wear colourwork jumpers. There was the winter garden pullover, the iris sweater, the anemone sweater by Knitting for Olive. All those beautiful, quite floral, I guess. This is a floral one. But yeah, I was kind of obsessed with floral colourwork, so that's why I learnt to knit. And now I'm finally doing it after 6 months of learning and building that confidence. Is that my child or someone else's child? I knitted the collar and just folded it down and knitted it down because in the pattern it sews it down right at the end and I was like, why would I make an extra step for myself later? I'm just going to knit it down and it's fine, plenty of stretch. I did a short row turn before I folded it down, so the wrong side is now on the outside because my ribbing is always neater on the back, so I made the effort to make sure that the neater side was on the outside, and this is how it looks. And obviously you can see I've got some colourwork here and it's all coming off the needles because we are frogging. When I did the swatch, I used the recommended needles, which is 4.5 for stockinette and 5mm for the colourwork, and it's tight. So I think my stockinette is 18, 19, it's not so bad, but the colourwork was more like 20, 21, so yeah, way too tight. To do this swatch, I cast on the number of stitches that you end up with in your cuff on the sleeve, or just before the cuff where you do colourwork. So it's kind of a nice little representation of how it will look on the sleeve, and that was just so I could do it in the round and follow the charts easily without having to do any maths and have a decent sized swatch, so it is a good size. A couple of you pointed out that small circumference knitting and small circumference knitting stranded colourwork can be quite different with your tension to when you're doing it in a larger circumference. So I ummed and ahed for a bit and I decided to knit on the recommended needles, even though this is really tight, and just see if it's any different when I do it in the jumper. And spoiler alert, it wasn't that different. But this was my first time doing stranded colourwork in the round on this swatch, and since I did this I have made a hot water bottle and my tension on that was like really good. I was really impressed with myself, so I thought, oh, maybe now that I've done it again and kind of maybe improved my technique slightly, it might be a bit different. So I thought I'd chance it, and it was a little bit looser, but it was not loose enough. So I don't think it looks terrible. I don't think my floats are particularly tight. There's like stretch in it and stuff. It's just not meeting Sari's gauge, which is fine. I'm a relatively tight knitter anyway, so that's not a surprise. And I don't feel like my floats are restrictive or that I'm doing anything particularly wrong. I think my colourwork dominance has been quite good. Like, I watched a video by Brooklyn Tweed, which was really helpful for understanding colour dominance, so I've been really conscious of that, and it's looking really pretty. It's just, this sweater is boxy but not oversized, and the recommended ease is 5 to 7.5 centimeters, and I think with size 4 I will have 7, maybe 8 centimeters of positive ease. So it's not an oversized jumper, which means that if this comes out tight, there is a chance that it's not going to fit very well. If it was oversized and there was like 20 centimeters positive ease, I wouldn't be quite as bothered if the gauge was a little bit tighter, because it would still have enough room. But because this is a slimmer fit, I just don't want to risk it. So I've put in another cable. I just used like a thinner needle. It's my 3.5mm needle to go through all the stitches on the knit round before I started the colourwork charts, and I'm going to frog back to there. So we're going to call this mistake number 1 because I do have other mistakes to talk about as well. So I'm going to frog this back, and we're just going to start the colourwork again with my needles sized up, so on 5.5mm needles. And that's okay, guys. Like, it's okay to frog things. You want your clothes to fit. You want to enjoy them. You're putting in hours and hours and hours of work or fun, hours and hours and hours of fun. I get to redo this. I get another hour of fun. But yeah, just frog it, guys. It's not that deep, just frog it. I'm very much a believer in giving it a go. If it goes wrong, undo it and do it again and learn from it. So I'm learning from it, and my jumper will fit better for it. I'm a bit apprehensive that now it might be a bit bigger, but I looked on Ravelry and there's a lot of people who have like intentionally knitted a size or 2 bigger, and I still think it looks good, so I'm okay with that. I know that some circular yokes have really deep armholes and just look ridiculous, and not for me. So yeah, I'm gonna frog this and then we'll just knit it again, and I will come back when I inevitably make another mistake for us to talk about. Morning. Last night I did loads of knitting on my jumper, and I actually got halfway through the colourwork chart, so I thought it'd be a good time to update you on where I'm at and also talk about the second mistake that I've made knitting this sweater. So, are you ready to see? This is so pretty. I think my floats and my tension's a lot better. It's more accurate to Sari's gauge, obviously pre-blocking, but yep. So as I said, I'm now halfway through the chart and just doing a stockinette row of the brown before starting the big flower motif on this. That's kind of like the centre focal bit of the colourwork, isn't it? That beautiful flower. So I have also treated myself to doing a bit of knitting this morning. I'm waiting for the food shop to come because I need to do lots of batch cooking today, but I had about an hour left of my audiobook, so I was like, I'm going to listen to that this morning and knit on my jumper. I've been listening to Throne of Glass for the first time, and I'm on Empire of Storms, so I finished that this morning, and Queen of Shadows ended on such a like hopeful ending for Aileen, and this one was just bleak, and I need to know what's happening next. But I've run out of Audible credits, which means that I'm gonna have to pay for it or wait. So I'm gonna pay for it because I can't wait. The second mistake that I've made on this jumper is all about jogs. But I did not have the foresight to film adequately before I frogged the original iteration of the colourwork. So I don't actually have it on the jumper to show you, but I do have my swatch which has the same issue. And then on my actual colourwork, current colourwork, who knows, I'll have to frog it again, I have tried to rectify it, and I'm going to talk about how I've rectified it. So obviously when you're knitting, you're not knitting just like straight lines, are you? It's like a spiral. So if you're not familiar with it, you end up with this jog, is what it's called, and it's like a step when you do stripes in particular, but it's also quite obvious when you do colourwork. I mean, it doesn't look too terrible on this, but it annoys me. I do not like jogs. My first sweater that I made, the jogs on the back of it were horrendous, so I think I've kind of got this like bugbear gripe with jogs. So for the second iteration of the colourwork, I found a technique called, I don't know what it's called and I can't remember who did it, but I'll put their name up here. Essentially, you knit your row of the colourwork chart, knit the last stitch with the last colour, and then you put that stitch back onto your left-hand needle. I'm giving away the fact that I don't know left and right there. You put it back onto your left-hand needle and then knit it again with the first colour of the next round of the colourwork. And then when you get back to that stitch, again on the next row, you pull up your bottom stitch, so the actual colour it should be, put it back onto the left-hand needle and knit them together. And I'm not explaining that very well, I don't think, but I will share the link to the blog post that I used for this technique. And I do think it's made quite a good bit of difference in terms of the jogs. I keep saying it'll block out because I think that the only noticeable differences now are mostly tension related on that seam, but it's not an obvious step. It's more that the stitches look a bit bigger, and where they're like, so this row of 3 should be a row of 3, that's just not been pulled into the right place. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that technique, and I think that it's made it look a lot more polished. I mean, having jogs doesn't matter, like you're hand making things and it's fine. Like you're always going to have some sort of noticeable seam, I think, but I just wanted to try something new and see if I could hide it a bit better. That's my update for today, but I'm really enjoying doing the colourwork. I'm really excited to see how it turns out, and obviously once I get to the end of the colourwork chart, it's kind of just back to being a boring stockinette project, so I don't really know how much I'll have to talk about and how long this video will be, but it means that I can then cast on a cable project to have that as my brain taxing project. I need to decide if I'm doing my Serena sweater, Rory Gilmore inspired, or if I'm doing my Gwenvere test knit for the Knit Pearl Girl first. Decisions. Hello. What's that from? Oh, Peppa Pig. David Mitchell plays the police officer in Peppa Pig randomly, but I hate Peppa Pig. Anyway, I have been making progress on my pullover. I've got to halfway through the flower, the main flower. Ooh, losing my stitches. I knit with like the appropriate size needle on the right hand, and the left one I go loads smaller so that I can knit faster and they just fly off it, but it does mean that if I put this down it's going and slips off really easily. But anyway, I made some more mistakes that we can chat about. I feel like this video is turning into X mistakes I made whilst knitting my first colourwork sweater, but that's fine. It's fun to have a, you know, angle when you film these vlogs, I guess. So I want to talk about floats because earlier on in the chart I had some long floats and I was like, oh, need to remember to catch them, and I did a really good job. And then on, oh, I've lost them again. I'm gonna put this down in a sec. Oop. On one of the more recent rows, you know, they had loads of stitch stoppers at Yarndale. I should have got some, but I was like, I'll never use them. Well, here we are. Anyway, you can see here that I've got some long floats. That's 7 stitches, and it's not necessarily pulling in too much, but I did it a couple of times. So you can see there's maybe 4 or 5, and I was like, what am I doing? And then started catching my floats. And it's important to catch your floats just to try and help that tension stay even and avoid any puckering in your fabric. I'm hoping that because I only did it on a few, and I've been quite good at like spreading out my stitches on my right hand needle once I've made them to try and keep it even and not too tight. So I'm hoping that it won't make much difference, but yeah, I didn't think back because I just didn't think to. I was like, oh, 7 stitches, catch my floats, and I got all the way around and I was like, oh, I wasn't doing that at the start. But yeah, that is mistake number 3, I guess. Morning, update time. I am very aware that my hair is horrendously disgusting and we have no hot water. There is a storm at the moment. You right, Silsil? You okay? There is a storm at the moment, and there's something to do with Northern Power Grid, which means that the energy to where our heating's done is gone. So we have no heating, no hot water, there's no internet, and there's no like television signal. So I'm very grateful for the fact that I know how to knit, because it's like living in the olden days. Okay, but I have an update for you on my sweater. I haven't done this for a few days because I had to wind up more of the maple yarn. I just couldn't be asked, but I did it this morning, so we're ready to do more. I've got to the point where my flowers are nice and done. So that's where we're at now. I've just got so many dog hairs on this. I mean, yeah. I've got to do the like circle-y motif, if you've seen this. And then there's another motif, I believe. And then there's some German short rows maybe for raising the neck, which is the first time I've not done it like right at the collar. And then it's just stockinette. So I want to talk about mistake number 4 that I think I've made. I mean, I don't think it's really a huge problem, but it's something that I want to talk about and get opinions on for next time. So I have been very conscious of my colour dominance. As I mentioned earlier, I watched a really good video about it, and I've kind of just been holding the pink dominant because in my head I was like, well, that's the motif, the other one's the background, just gonna do that. And even though the video that I watched did have an explanation of like trying to decide what to hold dominant based on what you would draw and stuff, for this pattern it kind of all is just do the pink. But there's quite a lot of sections where there's like a single brown stitch, and I think that maybe the colour dominance is making it so that you can't see those particularly well. I thought I'd made a mistake then, it's fine. Yeah, so you can see on the flowers, like there's the brown dotty bits in them. I don't have very technical terms. Can you tell I'm a newish knitter? Where it's like single stitches, and I just think that sometimes they get a bit drowned out. It's particularly noticeable on some of these like little diamondy bits. And as I said, I don't think it's like a mistake, but it's definitely something that I want to be able to factor in the future when I'm knitting other colour work, because if you can make it neater, why wouldn't you try? So that is my 4th mistake that I want to talk about. And the 5th mistake is just a really basic one, but the amount of times that I have just started doing the wrong chart. I've like done it where I've picked up my knitting halfway through a round and just started the like next round of the chart. So I've got like half right, half wrong, and then been like, this is not right, and had to like think back. So yeah, a basic mistake, but we all do it, don't we? And I just need to pay more attention when I'm reading my charts and reading my knitting. And I'm really focusing on trying to like read my knitting and not focus on the chart too much. So I've kind of like, I'll give myself a count like 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 1, whatever it is for like that repeat. But then I really like look into like what part of the flower is done, what needs to come next, and try and really focus on like being able to just look at the colour work in front of me and do it instead of having to constantly keep going at my chart next to me. But it's mostly gone okay. Like I've only had to think back 6 million times. Like it happens quite regularly. I just don't have a very good attention span, and I was trying to do this whilst I was watching like Taskmaster, which was new, so I was like engaged with it, and yeah, I just kept doing it wrong, and I lost about 30 of my stitches off my needle because it was just in my lap, and I was like, oh, Taskmaster, and then I looked down and literally so many of my stitches. So that was fun to try and fix in colour work. That was a learning experience. I guess that could be number, I've lost count, where are we up to? 7, 9? I'm not going to include that as one of my official mistakes, but yeah, losing all my stitches. And then I did have bits where I would look at it and be like, what is this? But yeah, what a waffly update for you. I'm hoping that the heating's going to come back on soon. My husband's taken my daughter to soft play because we've done as much crafts as we possibly can this morning, and she was just like a bit bouncing off the walls, and the weather's a bit terrible, so he's taken her to soft play so that I can like tidy around the house and sort our life out. But hopefully I can wash my hair. As you can see, I have finished my jumper, but I have 2 more mistakes that I want to talk about because I have a feeling that some of you might be doing the same that I have done. I am an English style knitter. I, up until about a month or 2 ago, was a thrower, so I would knit like this. Now I flick, so it's a bit quicker, and I had given myself a barrier that I had to learn Continental to be able to knit colour work. I see so many people on social media who will do it Continental completely, or they'll do one hand Continental for one colour, one hand English style for the second colour, and I really had this thing in my head that I had to learn Continental to do it. And I've tried to do Continental. In fact, the one garment that's been an epic fail for me, my gauge was horrendous, it didn't fit, it was huge. That was when I was trying to learn how to do Continental knitting, and it just didn't gel with me. My left hand doesn't do things, it doesn't work. I may as well have one hand, okay? So I struggled with Continental knitting, and I really thought that that meant that I couldn't do colour work. But you know what? Turns out that you can just use one hand. You can pick up the colour you need, you can drop the colour you don't need, then you pick up the next colour. It's fine. It might not be the speediest, but honestly, it wasn't that bad, and who cares? Knitting is a hobby. Knitting brings me joy. Knitting is a thing that I enjoy the process of doing, and that's how I knit. That's how I enjoy knitting. It's not about speed, it's about enjoyment, and I did not enjoy learning Continental. I can't do it. I can English style knit, and I can do colour work English style, and I think I've done a great job. I don't think I had any tension issues. If anything, I think that having to put the yarn down meant that my tension for the colour work was better because I was slowing down a bit, making sure I separated my stitches, making sure that my floats weren't too tight. So yeah, I think that if you think you have to do Continental knitting to do colour work, stop it. You don't. Don't believe everything people tell you on social media. Knit how you knit, do what you want, you like what you like. It's okay to do it how you want and how you prefer and what's most comfortable, and just give it a go. it doesn't matter whether or not you knit Continental. And my seventh and final mistake that I made is just not doing it sooner, which I know is a bit of a cop-out mistake, but honestly, I was kind of, as I talked about, I thought I had to do Continental and that I didn't have the skills for it. And I did have in my head that I wanted this to be my birthday cast on, but I should have done it sooner. I loved the process of knitting the actual colour work. I really enjoyed reading my knitting on the charts. I enjoyed the watching the pattern grow, and I think this was so much fun. I really want to do more colourwork sweaters. I have an all over colourwork project planned. I will be doing the facet sweater, which is a pattern by Lynette. It's all over but quite a simple motif that repeats throughout it. And then after that I really want to do the iris pullover, which is all over but it's like a bit more intricate and lots of different patterns. I just wish that I'd done some colourwork sooner, because then I would have known that I actually really enjoy doing that. I'm learning that I like wearing stockinette, I just don't like knitting stockinette, but I do like knitting colourwork, and I do like knitting cables, and I do like knitting texture, and I find that more engaging and more fun. And if I'd done colourwork sooner, I would have known that sooner and committed to less plain stockinette projects. So yeah, my seventh mistake is just believing that I couldn't do it sooner, because you can do it. And I'm a firm believer that you can knit anything. Don't let your skills hold you back. You can get the skills. If you have YouTube or TikTok and are willing to frog and willing to give it a go, you can knit anything, you can do it, and you can do it whenever you want. Don't be put off by thinking, oh, I'm a beginner, I can't do that. You can do it. And I wish that I had told myself that I could do it sooner. I am overall really pleased with my sweater. I do still have gauge issues. You may have noticed that this is a little bigger than it should be. I spoke earlier about not wanting to come out too tight because of the 7 centimeters of positive ease that was recommended. I didn't want it to be too snug if I was tight. I sized up my needles but didn't swatch on those new needles, and actually when it blocked out it has got a bit bigger, so I do have a slightly longer yoke here, and my sleeves are very long, though I love that. That's not a problem. It does just mean that I have a bit more positive ease than the pattern recommends. It ended up being maybe 15 centimeters as opposed to 7, so it is a lot more, not oversized but kind of oversized than it should be. But that does mean that I am wearing it more. I think when it was designed to be quite fitted, that to me is more of a not formal, but a nicer jumper that I will wear for nicer situations, whereas now I just put it on all the time, so it's getting lots of love, and that's okay. I still like it. It's a lesson that I should swatch again if I size up my needles to check, but then it's so difficult, isn't it, because I find my swatch is often not representative of my actual garments. So whatever, it's beautiful, it looks great. My jogs on the back I think have turned out really well, featuring a hair clip that my daughter made me when she went to go and stay at my mum's house. They made them in the oven. I don't know how, I'm not going to question it, it's pretty. So yeah, I think that the jogs have came out pretty well, better than I anticipated that they would. Where it's a single colour, it's a bit lost, but that's fine. It's kind of just more noticeable that it's a 3D seam as opposed to jogs. So yeah, you've got to pick your battles, haven't you? I think it looks pretty good. This is my first time using Cascade 220 and I love this yarn. It was so nice to work with and it feels lovely. It's woolly but it's not scratchy at all. It's soft, but I'm hoping that it's not too soft, as in I'm hoping it wears up a bit better. I've got some minor pilling. Isn't that weird, just going up to the camera my armpit? I've got some minor pilling where the arm rubs. I've wore this maybe 4 or 5 times so far. I wore it to my daughter's birthday party, which was hot. It was 25 kids plus parents in a very small room with a bouncy castle, so there was lots of moisture, shall we say. I wore it to my daughter's birthday lunch with our family, and I've just wore it a couple of other times about the house and, you know, going to town and stuff. So it's getting lots of wear, comfortable. The double folded collar, even though it's very snug, isn't remotely scratchy. It's comfortable. I'm hoping it won't flare out too much, but I think it has done a little bit already, so I might add elastic in the future. I recommend this pattern. What more is there to say? It's beautiful. I think this is great for a first colourwork project. There's not many particularly long floats to catch, and now you have all my insight and advice of what not to do. So yeah, if it's your first colourwork jumper and you like the look of this, just give it a go. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope that you enjoyed knitting with me. I'm really looking for some like inspiration and maybe not the most common projects that everyone's doing, something a bit different. I really like floral, I like nature and leaves, I like really geometric patterns. So if you have any ideas, I would be really grateful if you shared those in the comments, or if you share your favourite colourwork garment that you've ever knit with us, that would also be great. But otherwise, I hope you have a lovely day and see you soon.